Welcome back to another episode of season 4 of TechRise. I'm your host, Brylan Donaldson. I'm a former founder and currently the associate director over at Northwestern Startup Incubator, The Garage, and data scientist at early stage venture capital fund, Serac Ventures. For those who may be unfamiliar with TechRise, TechRise offers a weekly pitch competition for overlooked founders here in Chicago that have the opportunity to win $25,000. The impact has been tremendous. So far, 300 founders have come to stage. They've went on to raise $110 million in additional capital and created 1,000 jobs across Chicago. A little bit of context about how today will work. Each founder will have 4 minutes to pitch. They'll also have 4 minutes to answer questions from our judges, and then our judges will deliberate. During that deliberation, we'll invite Alex Castrounis, founder and CEO of YAI, an adjunct professor for Northwestern University's Kellogg and McCormick MBAI program, to the stage for a quick fireside chat. So without further ado, let me welcome our judges. First up, Neil Saraf, managing director over at Forum Ventures, where he focuses on pre-seed and seed investments, supporting their $0 to $1 million ARR journey. Neil has experienced this firsthand as the co-founder of First Renaissance, a manufacturing SaaS business where he raised $24 million in venture funding and grew the team to 40 employees. Next up is Catherine Berry, associate at AI Fund, a Palo Alto-based venture capital fund and studio founded by Dr. Andrew Nguyen, where she's building and investing in AI products across several different verticals. She holds a bachelor's in neuroscience from the University of Virginia and her MBA from Northwestern University. And lastly, let's welcome our third judge, Danny Pentuso, venture investor at Mucker Capital, a $1 billion fund specializing in pre-seed through Series A investments in B2B SaaS. After graduating Stanford, Danny worked as both a product manager and founder before making the jump to venture capital. Today, his specific focus is on startups building AI agents, vertical SaaS products, and companies building here in the Midwest. Welcome. So without further ado, let's welcome our first founder to the stage, Nilay Parikh of Arvist. Go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you, Brylan. Just a quick sound check and a screen check.
Yep, we can hear you.
Excellent. All right. Let's clear something up first. Right. Warehouses are not merely a storage link in the supply chain. Right. Did you know that right now in the United States, there's over 300,000 warehouses and distribution centers with an average size of over 185,000 square feet? This was just 25,000 square feet in 1999. Now, the holy grail of warehousing operations lies in this perfect order rate, or the POR. Now, what the heck is this POR, right? Let's pick someone. Brylan over here has a warehouse, for example, with a POR of 90%. What that means is that 10% of all the orders shipped from Brylan's warehouse had some form of errors. Now, it could be one of these or all of these. Now, Brylan might say, 90% POR doesn't seem too bad. Well, actually, it's pathetic. Let me explain why. Right? In a warehousing operation, orders shipped is equal to the revenue made. Right? There's no other magical stream of revenue. And that means, in effect, you're losing 10% of your revenue, right? Especially in an industry which runs on such tight margins and where finding people to work is so hard. It's just not feasible. So what can we do about it? Well, it so happens that the answer lies in a rather very intelligent supply chain technology, or Arvist for short. Arvist allows operators to optimize their warehouses for quality and compliance using their existing infrastructure. Seems like magic? Well, no, it's AI. Let me explain how Arvist works. Existing is the key word over here. We bring in data from your cell phones, tablets, as well as security cameras into the Arvist platform. Second, we bring in data from your warehouse management systems as well as ERP platforms. The combination of this visual and text-based data together gives us insights into the quality, productivity, and compliance. Let's look at some examples. Over here, you're looking at the receiving dock, someone clicking a picture, identifying the expiry dates of products immediately. In other example, we are looking at how many boxes are there on the pallet, comparing that data with your WMS information, also seeing if there were any damages during transportation. Over here, we are looking at the loading, unloading times, resources used in shipping your products out. Where did the vehicles go out at 100% capacity? What was the vehicle capacity utilization over here? Did your product shipment incur any fines, fees, detention charges, demurrage charges during transportation? And finally, is your warehouse in compliance, let's say for your hazmat rules or food and beverage specific regulations or healthcare regulations, creating those rules on the fly in our system? The idea with Arvest is to ensure accurate orders every single time without using any new infrastructure. At Arvest, on our journey so far, we have been really proud to have partnered with really good organizations, investors, as well as accelerators. And I'm honored to work every day with some of the brightest people in the industry, including a successfully exited startup founder as our CTO, ex-head of product from SAP as our head of product, ex-data scientist from the US Navy and Coast Guard as our head of AI. Myself, I have a master's degree in aerospace engineering and spent a decade in the supply chain industry learning this problem inside out. But my pride and joy lies in the traction that we have had in the customers that we are delivering value for. As of June, we will have 8 deployments across the United States, including 2 of the Department of Defense's logistics operations right here in the Chicago area. In total, they're bringing in over $340,000 in ARR. With that, my name is Nilay Parikh. I'm the founder and CEO at Arvist, where we are shipping the future of warehouse management operations today. Thank you.
Thank you, Nilay. Catherine, you want to kick us off with Q&A?
Love to. I'm super curious about any dependencies in the tech. So you talked about the using existing cameras, cell phones, iPads. Is it in your experience that the warehouses have been ready to adopt their existing tech infrastructure is ready for like that kind of video quality?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's the reason why we have a combination of not just the security cameras. We initially were dependent on just security cameras. We added all these layers of other inputs, as well as the WMS, the warehouse management system inputs, gives us context into what we are looking at. Right? There might be, during the onboarding, we do repurpose and reposition some cameras sometimes, but in most cases, we find that the technology has advanced well enough for us to utilize that data.
Fantastic.
Neil, you want to go next?
Absolutely. Nilay, thanks for taking the time to pitch. From an ROI standpoint, you talked about the problem being the perfect order rate. When you're pitching this to your customers, what is kind of that metric or the needle that they're trying to move? Is it they want to improve their perfect order rate, or are there other things that they're actually buying your solution for?
Absolutely. So what happens is when we go in, I was talking about the onboarding over here. When we go into a customer, we create what we call a process map. From the moment the truck arrives in your yard, all the way to products being put away in your racks and aisles, and vice versa, and lay out each of the steps, right? Where is your product touching your software? Where is your product touching a human operator? And then that's where we give them insights around, hey, these are the options or these are the possibilities where Arvist can be injected into your operations. And that's where you would have your cost savings or time savings. And that's the ROI we are giving. In the end, POR is something that we give out as a holistic metric that they can share with their management for more, reporting purposes.
Thank you.
Yanni, you're next.
Yeah, great pitch. And I really like this idea. How do you handle the unhappy path, right? If you identify an error potentially in a shipment or violations of code, how do you handle stuff like that?
So there's 3 different ways where we give out, outputs, if you will. One of them is, of course, our dashboard where they see the reports and analytics around how the performance for this week is versus last week. If we see something live in real time, it sends out a text message to the floor manager, as well as we have the ability to escalate it via emails to someone about them, if you will, if they are not, satisfying or resolving that error in that time. The idea over here is that instead of, let's say, for example, when you're receiving something, right, and we see a damaged product which came off the truck, if someone from a warehouse signs the bill of lading, then the warehouse owns the product. After that, even if you complain to anyone down the stream in supply chain, no one's going to respond to your calls. But if you captured that before you signed that bill of lading, then it's proof that the warehouse did not accept faulty delivery, right? And it was damaged during transportation. So that kind of immediate information availability becomes important.
Catherine?
Does that make sense?
Oh, good.
Sorry.
It does.
That makes sense.
Very well
Okay.
said.
Yeah.
Cool.
Skip me for a second. My fire alarm is going off. One moment.
All good. No, you want to ask a question? We probably have time for one more.
Yeah, sure. Nilay, outside of capital and runway, what do you think would be the reasons that your business would fail?
One of the biggest reasons would be AGI. If that came into play tomorrow, which is not going to happen anytime immediately soon. One of the things that a lot of people talk about from AI in warehousing is the dark warehousing, right? 100% automation. But right now in the United States, less than 5% of warehouses have any level of automation, not even 100% automation. So we are looking and trying to fill that gap of bringing in automation into warehousing for the next 2 decades, right? At which point we definitely expect that it will become a 100% automated process.
It's helpful. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Nilay. Appreciate you. So moving on to our next founder, Raul Alcantara of Entiendo. The floor is yours, Raul.
Thank you so much. Let me share my screen. Can you guys see this?
Yes, we can.
At Entiendo, we allow people to learn in the way that works for them. Now, let me tell you what's going on this day. We all learn differently. Some people prefer reading, writing. Some of us are more visual, other auditive, or even kinesthetic. So we all learn differently, and yet, to this day, learning materials have remained one size fits all. They don't reflect this diversity. And this causes 83% of students finding that learning materials are not aligned with them. They're like not made for them. This is in a classroom of 30 students, 25 of them feeling incapable of learning, like they are too dumb for this, which causes low self-esteem, low confidence, and even limited career opportunities or employment. I've been one of these students. I've said these things. I've felt this way. And trust me, it doesn't feel great. But in the AI era with Entiendo, never again. What we do is we adapt traditional learning content into what works for you. For example, by taking PDFs, Google Docs, PowerPoints, your interest and preference into account, and then being able to generate these multimodal, engaging, and interactive activities. So just to name an example, you're not a fan of reading, then Entiendo transforms a PDF that teaches you about quadratic functions into a variety of formats like videos, audiobooks, or even interactive activities that teaches you the same way, just in a different format. We make learning truly personalized and multimodal, which dramatically improves the learning experience, either by engagement, course completion rates, or even academic performance. But the thing that set us apart is, for example, our multimodal outputs specifically designed for learning, or personalized experience with our recommendation system, and the creation of this ecosystem of learning productivity, among others. But none of this would be possible without a mission-driven team ready to revolutionize education. I have a bachelor and master's at MIT. I've worked on Google and Pinterest, and I've created an educational YouTube channel. My co-founder is an AI applied specialist, an educational podcast creator, and a 4-time founder. And the two of us have already founded an edtech before. We're trusted by accomplished leaders and change makers, starting with Wilmer, the owner of Latam's second biggest school network, Ali Partovi, the early investor of giants like Facebook, Uber, Airbnb, and Dropbox. And to this day, we have more than 120 schools waiting for MVP. This is a big global market opportunity with the power to impact millions of people. We're starting the educational content creation, which is 16 billion, moving all the way to the ecosystem of learning of $400 billion. And this is a market that is constantly growing and is expected to reach 1 trillion in just a couple of years. Our plan is to iterate fast with our individuals to build a foundation for our B2B offering, which is a multi-tier subscription model. This is what the product looks like, where you have different workspaces, and each workspaces allow you to transform any type of information. You can choose the type of output, and you can see the generated content all in the same place. The 25K will go a long way. It would allow us to improve and expand our impact. More than half would be for product development to start our pilots. 40% would be for marketing to reach more than 10,000 users by the end of this year. We believe in a future where learning differences is nothing to be ashamed of, but rather be celebrated. Help us build this future. Help us transform how people learn. Thank you.
Appreciate you all. Danny, kick us off with questions.
For sure, yeah. Very interesting idea. What's your go-to-market strategy?
Basically, right now with our with the schools that we have partnerships with, what we're doing, at least our plan, as I mentioned in the slide, is to do pilots in these different schools. And then right now, the way that we're looking at is to school networks. For example, the angel investor is the owner of more than 50 schools, so kind of like going these 50 schools, 17 schools, that would allow us to get much more distribution in much less time. So yeah, that's kind of like how we're trying to start with this.
Gotcha. And then long term, who do you think will be your paying customer? Will it be school districts themselves or students directly?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because I think that this technology, like being able to transform this static information into a way that works for students, I think that has a lot of different directions. So for now, like at least right now, we're focusing on these different schools and like the individual people, but I think that there is a lot of room for growth. So for example, to being able to go to businesses and for company training or just different things. But at least on the short term, what we're focusing on is these different like educational institution, which could be schools, could be universities, and even like academies.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Go ahead, Neil.
I have to ask this because I asked this with a lot of the AI businesses, but from a defensibility standpoint, over time, what do you think the overall product defensibility or moat will be in terms of your business and product?
No, definitely. Yeah, a couple of different things. So to start, I think that our high focus on the learning pedagogy, like I didn't mention her name, but basically one person from our team, Paola, she's an educational specialist, and kind of like she's helping us to know how to design these learning materials that they're not just videos, but they're videos specifically made for learning. And I think that that's kind of like one big focus. And at the end of the day, I think that on the long term, we're not just generating content, but we're creating this ecosystem of learning that can go side by side with each of the students. And I think that that level of specificity is like what's going to help us on the long run.
Thank you.
Neil, you have any other questions?
I think the other question that I have is, have you done enough product discovery to figure out like your ideal customer profile? So I understand the ed tech play and the educations, but like, is it like elementary schools? Like where do you think the incision point is going to be on the go-to-market?
Right. I think that so far what we're focusing on a bit amount right now, it's on high school, especially because like for younger generation, it needs to be like much more cute, much more fun, and things like that. And I think that right now, our focus is in discovering if the content that we're generating actually helps people learn. And I think that for that is kind of like we've decided our demographic to be high school student. And this has also been the result of having more than 100 interviews with like different people and kind of like trying to see what's the excitement like and kind of like pushing a little bit more on that side.
Cool. Raul, you have 30 seconds left. Anything else you want to leave the judges with?
Yeah. I just want to say, well, first of all, thank you for this opportunity. And I think that for the longest time, like we've had to adapt to learning. I think that it's finally for a time for learning to adapt to us. And we're very excited of what we're doing at Entiendo. And yeah, hope you guys can have a good day.
Appreciate you, man.
Awesome.
Well, next for our next founder, Sarah Blythe of Mercurial AI. Sarah, the floor is yours.
Right. Thank you. All right. See everything okay? Hear me okay? Great.
Yes, we do.
My name is Sarah Blythe. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Mercurial AI. Before starting on this journey, I was an operating room nurse for more than half a decade, working side by side with physicians. And it's very easy to see, especially in that context, that doctors are just like us. Some of them are really good at their jobs. Some of them I don't want operating on me or my loved ones. So that's kind of the impetus for what we are building here. There are not enough great oncologists out there for the number of breast cancer patients that exist. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime, and that number for millennial women is currently increasing. Breast cancer is the leading cause of cancer death for women in the United States. And we were just at ASCO this past weekend, and the amount of information that comes out around breast cancer is so dense and so hard for oncologists to keep up that they just simply can't do it, and expecting them to stay up to date on these leading studies and journals and articles, it's just not realistic. So that's what we're here to solve. And solving this problem represents a over $5 billion total available market for us, not even including data sales and all the different expansion channels we can work through. So how do we fix it? Well, we generate hyper-specific treatment plans for breast cancer patients. In doing so, we're recommending the right treatment the first time, saving all parties valuable time and money by eliminating ineffective treatments. There was an Access Hope study in which they basically telehealthed oncologists and experts with the community hospital treating physicians. And in almost 70% of cases, the treatment recommendations were changed to follow evidence-based practice, and over $19,000 per patient were saved because of these changes that were made. 80% of the US population does not seek cancer care in NCI, National Cancer Institute certified hospital, and people who suffer from poverty are at 12 times higher percent likelihood of death because of cancer. So how do we fix it? Well, we integrate to any EHR within the North America, and we pull information found within. So their genetic testing, if they've had that done and reconciled in their chart, their imaging scans, pathology reports, lab results, clinician notes, and take all of that information and cross-reference it with ASCO and NCCN guidelines. The NCCN and ASCO guidelines are the gold standard documents that every physician refers to in order to develop their treatment plans. But as I mentioned, they are changing all the time. And the way it works is it's just a PDF of flow sheets for them to dig through. So we're automating that process and then taking it a step further and pulling peer-reviewed studies and journals that are relevant to the patient that they're treating. All of this is then presented to the oncologist in a mobile application. And we like to call it like a mini EHR. So if you're on any enterprise software, it's bloated, it's hard to dig through. EHRs, electronic health records, are no different. So important information is often missed by the treatment teams. So we're solving for that problem. In addition to that, we also have a large language model trained on that information. So physicians can ask for a summary of the patient chart. When were these biopsies done? What is the best medication with the mutations found in their biopsies? All of that together is presented to the oncologist. And as a dual-sided application, we then have patients have a co-pilot for them. So patients can sign up for our application, request their medical records from their hospital institutions, and upload them onto our platform. And then we extract data found within and generate a second.
Sarah, apologies for cutting you off. We need to move to we need to move to Q&A. Catherine, you want to kick us off?
I didn't see the timer.
Really would love to. I mean, I think you've identified a really huge problem, and it's really awesome. Curious what your kind of like who your customer is. Who are you selling to?
Yeah, so it is hospital-based sales in which they are annual contracts with the opportunity for renewal. Pricing is based on an implementation fee and the number of patients connected to that platform. The long-term vision of this plan is to expand outside of breast cancer and into other cancers that your medical oncologist does treat. The long-term plan is to then take these patients longitudinally from diagnosis to their outcomes, and we can track the interventions that the treating team does and use those patients' outcomes to then retrain the model and create a foundational model for cancer care in the United States.
Neil, you want to go?
Yeah, great pitch, Sarah. Thanks for this. If this is a co-pilot for oncologists, from a regulatory standpoint, like what would need to be true?
Yeah. So in its treatment recommendations that we are building now, where we are just following NCCN and ASCO guidelines and peer-reviewed studies and journals, there is no FDA involvement required. In the long-term plan, where we take those patient outcomes and retrain our model and develop our own treatment, that is then where the FDA would come involved. We've brought on Susan Alpert, who's former head of FDA clinical devices and is often an advisor and also a venture investor, into our advisor board to help us navigate the FDA and, kind of button everything up and answer our questions there.
The floor is yours, Dan.
What are the legal risks that entail when you're kind of giving medical advice, especially if it's something as life-threatening as cancer?
Yeah. So the federal state board that does boards for, being a doctor came out and said they passed guidance a couple months ago, 2 months ago, very recently, saying that physicians are ultimately responsible for the decisions that they make, whether they be guided by AI or not. I like to joke that we are lane keep assist and not autopilot. We are here to present physicians with additional information that they may not know is out there. Those studies, those guidelines, all of that research is published across 7 to 12 different journals. So unless a physician is actually reading, those weekly updates from those journals that come into their inbox, which, spoiler alert, they're not, those things can often go missed. And it's a real shame for patients, because being able to be seen at MD Anderson, Northwestern, Rush really shouldn't dictate your survivability of something as simple as breast cancer.
And quick follow-up, if I may.
Go ahead.
What's the proprietary part of the LLM that something like a Perplexity or ChatGPT just simply couldn't do?
Yeah, so we are employing a RAG methodologies, vector embeddings based on both the open source data and proprietary patient data that we are gathering through our patient application, and that is purchased out there. So once we are embedded into hospital systems and onboarding those patients, that data is then proprietary to us.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Cool. Sarah, you have 15 seconds. Any last words for the judges?
No, thank you for letting me join and pitch, and I hope you all enjoy this beautiful weather we're having.
Thank you. So next up is Andre Gordia of Droid. The floor is yours, Andre.
Yeah, let me share screen and set this up. Take a deep breath, all of that good stuff.
You're good.
Okay, all set? All right. Hi, everyone. How's it going? My name is Andre, and I'm going to present Droid today. Meet Felix. He's a 23-year-old seller from Germany who sells merch on Amazon, Etsy, and eBay. He spends most of his time creating designs, taking pictures of products, publishing his listings with the right search engine keywords, and fulfilling orders. After spending hours publishing a couple of products and not seeing results, he gave up. This is common. 90% of all e-commerce businesses are failing within the first 120 days of launching. Many online sellers struggle with visibility and profitability, with 50% of Etsy sellers making no sales annually, 37% of Amazon third-party sellers failing to become profitable in the first year, and eBay sellers needing to frequently add new inventory to stay visible in the search results. The key to success is to constantly create a high volume of listings with relevant keywords, high-quality images, and competitive pricing. But the thing is, this used to take an entire team to do, but not anymore. Droid's unique AI system helps sellers design merch, put it on products, publish these listings, and fulfill orders automatically. Let's look at how it works. We can automatically generate designs personalized to your store based on your existing catalog or your market niche. Then we generate countless eye-catching product images automatically. We have over 13 products and counting in our catalog. Then we generate titles and descriptions with relevant keywords that will get you traffic and publish on all of these marketplaces with one click. After you make a sale, Droid helps you fulfill that order automatically on demand with no inventory required. We have 2 tiers. The free tier lets users create 15 AI-generated products per month and pay a 5% automation fee on the order value. The paid tier starting at $30 per month, gives them access to unlimited products and the same automation fee on completed orders. There's 17 million sellers out there, making our TAM a $40 billion market opportunity every single year. However, our beachhead market is small and medium-sized Gen Z sellers on Etsy, Amazon, and eBay who constantly watch content on TikTok and YouTube on how to make money online. Our beachhead market represents a $220 million opportunity. To acquire our first customers, we're going to implement an affiliate program, TikTok and YouTube micro-influencer partnerships, and community-led Discord and Reddit growth. So we have a live product in the market right now. We have 40 monthly active users that are growing at a 10% week on week with a 33% daily active user to monthly active user ratio. Our customers have generated over 1,600 products on the Droid platform so far, and our Discord community has 235 active members and counting. Unlike competitors like Print Journey and Wonder AI, with Droid, sellers can always maintain a trending, optimized catalog that's ready to sell and ship with a single click. We're developing proprietary image generation workflows for each main product category. We're a very scrappy team, having gotten this far without taking any investment, and we've only spent $250. So with the $25,000, we will launch our automation fee on our paid subscription tier. This will allow us to acquire 150 paid customers and generate $4.5K in monthly recurring revenue, and position us to raise up to $1 million in safe notes this year. In the coming 3 years, we project our revenue to grow from 54K in annual recurring in 2024 to 3.6 million annual recurring revenue in 2026. I'm happy to walk you through this part during the Q&A. This is our second startup together in the e-commerce space. We previously built lending technology for online marketplace sellers looking to scale their stores. Our team is well-rounded with a strong blend of technical and business expertise. I have over 4 years of experience in tech commercialization and building autonomous systems, and Jorge has over 8 years of experience selling on online marketplaces and conducting research on neural networks and LLMs for e-commerce applications. By the time we
need to move to Q&A.
Okay, just one sentence. Is it okay?
Finish your sentence and we'll kick off Q&A. Go ahead.
By the time we succeed, we will have empowered millions of beginners with the right tools to become the next generation of hyper-productive sellers, and will enable droids all over the world to succeed where 90% are failing today. That's it. Let's do the Q&A.
Appreciate you. Catherine, kick us off.
Super interesting product. Really curious in the very front end of the product, do you have ability for users to edit images and change? We know that Stability has some problem with text. What is your approach there?
So what our product looks like currently, we have like an intake form. The users indicate like what types of products they want to sell, the themes and the styles that describe their niche. And then we generate recommendations using LLMs. And then when they click on a recommendation, we can make the image for them. But if they want, they can generate the image on their own, like typing out the prompt, selecting the style and the colors, or they can upload their own design if they just want to sell their own thing. So that's currently what the design experience looks like.
Danny.
Great pitch. Curious to know, custom printing has been around for a little bit now. What do you think is like the true differentiator? Why does AI kind of change the game and allow you to kind of break out in a space that's well established?
Yeah, so it is an established space, but the main problem is that existing providers only let you like come in with your design and like publish to your marketplace after like many clicks. You have no indication that whatever you're designing will sell. You're not getting any SEO optimization. You're not getting any like keyword research that like feeds into your design recommendations. So it's pretty much like a game of how many designs can you make and how lucky can you get to see if those sell. Like that's what we currently have. But sellers need to know that whatever they're wasting their time on, it's actually like gonna produce them profit. And so that really is like where Droid really shines in automating those recommendations and optimizing their SEO. So they're like picking up on the right keywords at the right time with listings that are pretty visible and competitive in the price. All of that like automatically. So it's a very strong value prop for them versus just hire someone on Upwork and slap it on a t-shirt. You know, it's a very different workflow.
I see. I see. So if you're specifically targeting influencers, it seems to me that SEO is less important because SEO would be for like organic or paid search, whereas influencers, you're working with, you want to buy somebody's custom merch, you want to buy from them, probably from their YouTube, socials. How do you integrate with social media influencers, existing platforms? And then how do you get analytics from those platforms?
So to start with, we're not targeting influencers. We're targeting like beginners that are selling on these marketplaces. So they do need the visibility there. But once we build enough like success and momentum with them, so after that first year, getting to 150 like paid customers that are on the beginner like side of the market, we want to target the influencer segment, which is actually looking for like on-demand like merch creation based on their content. So a system that is multimodal and can understand your content and design products on and put them on your Shopify store. Typically, these sellers like they connect the Shopify store to YouTube. It's pretty much the only integration they have. And so, yeah, with the integrations that we're working on, we will be compatible with Shopify. And so we would just need to like scrape the videos that they're doing and have the agents come up with recommendations for things to sell. But yeah, that's basically how we're thinking on doing that. But that's like a year 2 plan. We're starting with beginners because they're the easiest to get and they're in our Discord. They're all over there. So yeah.
That's it.
We have 45 more seconds. No, you want to ask your question real quick?
Yeah, real quick question. So is this product for net new products that you're launching? For example, if I'm launching a new product and I want to use based on what you said, or just say I already have 5 existing products, are you going to help me optimize that? Trying to understand the distinction there.
The distinction for us is like creating new products because we really make money from like the fulfillment of it, charging that 5% on the order. But we could enhance your listings if that is like something that our customers ask for. But since we're working with beginners, they're not really dealing with like large catalogs. But we do expect like to deal with sellers that have bigger catalogs, like the top performing sellers on these marketplaces, for example, they have thousands of listings there. And so it could be an interesting and
we have to
compelling
move to
value prop for them.
the next founder. So
Cool.
apologies, man.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much,
you.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. And last but not least, we have Al Lagunas coming to the stage of Levee. Al, the floor is yours.
There we go. I was having technical difficulties before, still having them. All right, give me one sec. All right. All set. We ready?
Yes, we are. Go ahead.
All right, Parikh. Everyone, thanks for sticking around in the end. As a show of gratitude, what I'll do over the next 4 minutes, I'll tell you how to get early check-in to a hotel every single time you go. And on top of that, what I'll also tell you is how our very first pilot customer became an early investor in Levee. So my name is Al Lagunas, co-founder and CEO of Levee. And the reason you can't get into your hotel room until 3 p.m. isn't because the room isn't ready. It's because the hotels lack the frontline data to understand what's going on within those walls. This includes not knowing when a room is ready because it hasn't been expected. Within a hotel, there's a variety of stakeholders that are unable to optimize cost, labor, and are financially hurt because of this. The lack of data is because they've overlooked the workers that have the ability to capture it. They haven't armed their predominantly female minority housekeepers with tools that work for them. Levee's changing that. Levee uses computer vision AI to efficiently capture high integrity data and automate room inspection for housekeeping teams. What this means is that our technology empowers housekeepers to be their own supervisor with real-time feedback and coaching, while also allowing hotel stakeholders to collect that necessary data and optimize labor allocation and cost. We eliminate the back and forth to increase productivity and get rooms back online faster and drive an overall better experience for the guests and the workers. For the hotel, it means better understanding what's going on with our workforce. And being able to better understand what's going on with your workforce is critical, especially when your workforce is a $111 billion market segment. That's part of that. That's a $100 billion market segment, part of an even larger part of your labor expense. So the way we're attacking this market is by first selling to operators. With operators, we're able to get into one of their hotels and pilot our product. Once we pilot the product, we can then scale with that same operator and start working within their other hotels. Now, I mentioned stakeholders earlier. The hotel that we pilot with has additional stakeholders, such as the brand and the owner of the hotel. Those brands and owners, you guessed it, they have other operators and other owners and other brands that they're associated with. So it creates this flywheel, this network effect, really helping us to drive scale efficiently. Now, I'm not gonna do the cardinal sin and say that we don't have any competitors. But one thing we've chosen to do differently is work with our competitors. And we're doing that by serving as the underlying data platform and intelligence tool for them. This allows us to unlock even a further distribution advantage and collect the data before anyone else does. As AI applications evolve and grow, we'll be the source of truth for them. And over this last 7 months, we went from 0 connections in the industry, not knowing anything about it, to finding a problem, building an MVP, testing the MVP, and securing a paid pilot with an award-winning hospitality group. Our latest win is why we need TechRise's help. Now, up until this point, all the testing and piloting that we've done is required on-site onboarding. Earlier this month, we had a request come in from a hotel in Grenada asking us to use our technology. The demand for our technology is forcing us to accelerate our self-service onboarding strategy, and Siesta Hotel in Grenada is ready to go. While I was at Amazon, we were able to build a $40 billion ad business overnight. That was done through self-service products. With self-service products, you're no longer limited by a sales team, but only by how fast someone can buy your product. We're here today seeing this $25K investment from TechRise so we can begin working on our self-service product and start onboarding customers as fast as they're ready to buy. Now, I can tell you that we're the best fit for this because I built a $20 million book of business at an early stage startup, because my co-founder was responsible for end-to-end product development of 9-figure product lines. Or our advisory board would consist of some of the top minds and exec leaders at hotel tech companies and hotel brands. But the real reason we're the best team for this is because our ties to the user. Earlier, we looked at demographics of housekeepers. It's a demographic our mothers belong to. We're building Levee in service to people like us and in service to people like our mothers who spent their lives in service of us. We might not know the best way to use technology, but don't let that work ethic to get the job done. I'll leave you with a story. I was shadowing a housekeeper at a Marriott a couple weeks ago, and when I was getting ready to leave, she came up to me and said, "Thank you." She told me that in the 35 years that she's been working with the housekeeper, anytime technology walks through that door, it's for the sales team. It's for the front desk. It's never for them. The question isn't if we're
we need to move to Q&A.
Who will? Thank you.
Appreciate you. Danny, go ahead and kick us off with Q&A.
I wanted to actually just touch base on exactly what you were touching on there, right? This technology is pretty complex. Computer vision. How do you get frontline workers to see that this technology is working for them, and then also to get them onboarded?
Yeah, definitely. So the first thing we're doing, and this is actually an idea from Marriott themselves, was developing a kind of like a bonus system within the tool. So Marriott's more than happy to pay out a monthly bonus of $100, $200, $300 for 100% room accuracy inspection, if they can lower their overall cost on things like room inspectors or drive higher retention rates because the rooms are better. The better rooms mean that guests are more likely to come back and enjoy their stay. If they can do that, they can then pay out these bonuses for these workers who are fighting for every dollar they can get.
Well said.
Thanks. Catherine?
Curious, when you make the sale to the hotel, again, I'm stealing a question a little bit here, but what metrics are you following here? What are the ROI? What does the hotel care about?
Definitely. So what we've got to understand first is the hotel ecosystem. So there's 3 main stakeholders. You have the brand, the operator, and the owner. So it's like the franchise system. So you have your hotel brand, like a Marriott. You have your hotel owner, which is usually like a REIT. And then you have your hotel operator, which is your management company. So there's different metrics that each care about. What we're focusing is with operators, because the operators care about efficiency metrics. Those we can test and measure within a 9-day pilot. We have a 9-day pilot coming up in 2 weeks with Marriott. And what we're focused on there are things like room coverage, room inspection coverage, how we're getting to more rooms faster, GXP requests, which are like if something's missing in your room, can we lower those month over month? Because all those things contribute to the overall guest experience. So that's really important for the operators. That's where we're focusing. Brands themselves care about brand compliance. Ritz-Carlton here in Chicago, starting conversations with them, tons of brand equity. The reason they charge you $400 a room a night is because they know it's going to be perfect every single time. So for them, it's things like brand standards. And lastly, the owner, what they care about more is preventative maintenance, making sure that their hotels are staying up to date, things aren't broken, because at the end of the day, it's their investment. They own the hotel. So that's kind of the KPIs and the reasons they buy.
Neil?
From a technology standpoint, I know like a lot of these hotels have like property management systems that already exist. So is this like complementary to that? And from like a tech stack perspective, like how do they kind of juggle with that, juggle that?
Neil, great question. So about 3-4 months ago, I was going to every hotel knocking on the door saying, hey, rip and replace, rip and replace. What I realized is that they'd rather pay more money for tools that augment their system than rip and replace something entirely. So it was right around mid-March where we pivoted and say, hey, let us, I just showed that slide where it said we're the operations intelligence platform. Let us augment your data. Keep your systems, keep your current labor management tools. Let us get you good data, high integrity data. Danny, you had the question about, these workers, how do we incentivize them? Some of these tools exist, but they're not using them because it's hard to get the data in. If English is a second language to me, if I'm not tech savvy, I'm not going to go and report in a tool that I can barely understand the job that I did. So we want to augment the way that this data is captured, make it easy to get it into the PMS, to get it into the labor management tools. That way everyone wins.
Cool. Al, you have 30 seconds left. Anything you want to leave the judges with?
Yeah. The thing I'd say is like, for us, what we're doing is we're on a mission much larger than just building a company. For Guillermo and I, as you can tell from that last slide, is something that's very important to us. Like no one ever thinks of people in the back of the house, and that's what we're building for. So yeah, thanks guys.
Appreciate you. So now our judges will deliberate and choose the runner-up and the winner, and we'll come back. But I want to introduce and welcome Alex to the stage. So Alex Castrounis is the founder and CEO of YAI. He's also a professor of AI over here at Northwestern University's Kellogg and McCormick MBAI program. He's also wrote a book on AI as well. So today to the stage, he's bringing 2 decades of experience advising startups to also Fortune 100 companies on using data, analytics, and all the above to really drive business growth. He's a former IndyCar engineer and data scientist for teams such as like Andretti Autosports that competed in races like the Indy 500. His experience applying analytics to make smarter data-driven decisions in racing now helps businesses gain and maintain a competitive advantage. Welcome, Alex.
Thanks for having me. Great to see you again. I feel like we're getting the band back together. It's
right.
Yeah. Thanks
I'm excited to
be here.
I'm excited to have this conversation. So I know recently PitchBook rolled out some data where just data on the recent kind of funding when it comes to just generative AI. And they said that funding was down 70%. And part of that was because investors kind of weren't seeing the ROI, or enterprises weren't seeing the ROI yet. And so I'm curious if you could provide a little bit perspective. Where are we today on the arc of just like this quest towards AGI?
Yeah. So I think that makes sense. I mean, it's pretty common. We see, market optimism and hype always way ahead of the curve, right? Like, according to like Back to the Future movies and the Jetsons and everything, we should have flying cars by now, right? And people are getting very excited about that, and autonomous vehicles and all this sort of thing. And when Gen AI came out, similarly, it was like, oh yeah, Gen AI, it's AGI right off the bat, and we can just put this into production and have like commercialized applications that are going to drive major value and ROI in no time flat. It's easy. We have these off-the-shelf tools. But in reality, a lot of those tools like ChatGPT and so on are much more direct to consumer. They're more of like a B2C type thing, less of a actual enterprise level type technology, and it's not so off the shelf, right? So to really derive meaningful value and ROI and get these things into production and commercialize them, there's so many things that need to happen, especially if you get into some of the more advanced patterns like RAG and so on. You need sort of your knowledge base, right? Your proprietary data. You need to be very good at prompt engineering. You need to be very good at understanding things like instruction tuning and fine tuning and in-context learning and setting up, all this like orchestration around these different components and so on. So it turns out, and plus that's not even getting into dealing with all the sort of the trust and accuracy type issues, which in many ways I believe are probably going to be the biggest barriers to wide scale enterprise level adoption of generative AI technologies, just, because of hallucinations and so on and so forth. It makes it so a lot of these technologies are still good at, again, either the consumer facing stuff or like, oh, hey, I could write an email for a client of mine or help me brainstorm some ideas in my marketing department to do X, Y, Z. But anytime you really need to, put a conversational interface on top of these tools, and you need the response to be accurate and evidence or data driven or based, and so on, to support actual decision making in your business, that's a whole different story. And so it's not as easy as the hype and optimism makes it seem. And I think that's a lot of why we're not seeing the progress that maybe people expected, is one of the reasons. The other thing is, and really where me and my company focus is, it's also, a lot of the majority of AI ML projects either fail or never get into production because oftentimes a lot of people will skip sort of the strategy design part or the North Star part. Like, what are the goals? What are the objectives and are they prioritized? And these are the right things to build that align up to those things, versus just dive into developing something or sandboxing and playing around with these tools just because you can, and then spending a lot of time and effort and money into developing things that have either no real alignment or aren't the right thing to build, or so on and so forth, because there's so many different potential use cases. So trying to figure out what the right things are is also a big piece of that.
Well, I want to dive a little bit deeper because you mentioned orchestration earlier, and yesterday I was listening to a talk from Scott Wu of Cognition, the Devon autonomous software engineer, and kind of what he was saying was very similar to you, where he looks as like, when it comes to engineering, there's the planning and then there's the implementation, and Devon is kind of going to take over that implementation. And the vision he shared was like teams of engineers are going to be managing like these AI agents. I'm curious, like, is that a future, or a vision that like you share? What does that future even look like, where, people have, 5 to 10 agents that, they're managing on a project?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, so one thing, because I've been doing this stuff for a long time, I've been working with AI ML for going on 20 years now, starting in the IndyCar professional motorsports arena, as you mentioned earlier. And over time, obviously now especially, these things are advancing so quickly and there's so much happening. And it's like day to day, every week, whether it's new models, new tools, new platforms, new hardware even, right? Like GPUs and chips or whatever it is. So I've tried to increase the signal to noise ratio, if you will, of where to focus and where not as much, because there's just so much happening that you can't focus on everything all at once. And the reason I say that is I feel like the agents thing, even though it's certainly caught, it's riding the big hype train at the moment a bit. It's still early days on that stuff, I feel like. And again, it's this idea, like, could it be really productionalized in a trustworthy, accurate, way that really creates the kind of value that people are looking for? We'll see.
So you're a little skeptical.
Yes, I'm skeptical, but I'm also more focused on other things that I think are more immediate, like multimodality, for example, right? And really more joint modality. So meaning, you with generative AI, usually it's some modality of data to some other modality of data, right? So it's like text to text, text to audio, text to video, text to images, whatever. But it's sort of like you go into DALL-E, let's say, or Midjourney, write a prompt, get out an image. Or you go to those tools and say, write me an email, get out text. But it's really the combination of all the modalities at the same time. It's sort of something they call joint embeddings, joint feature spaces, that sort of thing, where you map it all together in a way that's very similar to how humans process information through all our different senses, and then are able to, at any given time, seamlessly leverage all those modalities of information to make decisions, take actions, and so on. So a good example is if you're driving in a car and all of a sudden you hear like someone screeching on the brakes, but you don't see them necessarily, but you hear it. And then you hear like a car crash, let's say, your immediate reaction may be to like turn the steering wheel or hit the brakes or whatever. And maybe you hear the sound out of your right ear, so you know it's to the right, and you immediately know to turn your head to then bring your visual perception into the mix to add more information to understand, is this a very dangerous situation? Is it not? What other evasive maneuvers or something I should take accordingly on the fly, right? So generative AI, like these one modality at a time thing, aren't at that level even remotely. However, we're starting to see more and more things that tie the pieces together. So like one of the areas is what's called visual question answering, or visual common sense reasoning. So where you could put an image, you could pass an image through one of these models, ask questions about the image, and the image may even have text in the image. And this conversational or generative AI system could understand both semantically and contextually, not only the text in the image, but the image contents itself, and answer questions around that stuff and describe things across modalities. And so going back to the agents point, I think it's interesting. We'll see where it all goes, but I'm not sure people have even gotten to the point where they can use things like ChatGPT as their like sort of co-pilot in a way that people talked about very effectively on a day-to-day basis, much less roll out like a full-blown agents, armada of helpers and so on. So we'll see.
Yeah, so we still got a ways to go. I definitely agree with you there. I guess last question before we bring the judges back up. Building on top of your car analogy, I know you as someone that has like all these different mental models to really help people think about this tech. What are kind of like 2 to 3 others that you might share to help people easily start to navigate some of the things they're seeing out there?
No, I like analogies. I like mental models. I like, you know me, we've talked about this before, but like sort of simplification, right? Because at the end of the day, a lot of stuff is actually very complicated. It's based on a lot of pretty advanced mathematics and probabilities and statistics and computer sciencey type stuff. So another analogy I like to use, especially when people are talking about AGI and these LLMs are like sentient and so on, is one of a vending machine. And so this one I like. It's and actually my wife came up with this one because I told her the concepts I was trying to like represent, and she's like, well, hey, what about a vending machine? That's what it sounds like. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I'm stealing it from her, but giving her credit. So that's good. But she the idea is this, right? Like when you go to a vending machine, you put in a dollar bill, let's say you press like the letter and the number like C3 for your bag of chips, and then the machine, there's like a circuit board, right? With a chip in the machine that can run a program to go from the input of $1 and a selection to outputting your chips or candy bar or whatever, right? And once it does, as soon as you make that selection, the thing goes through the program, gives you your thing, and then goes back to sitting idle. It doesn't do anything else. It doesn't think about it. It doesn't understand what it did. It doesn't think like, hey, I was out drinking too late last night and I don't feel up for giving you your chips, so I'm not going to do that. Or, hey, you don't want the chips. I think you should have the candy bar, or anything like that, right? It just runs a thing. The same thing is true right now with with LLMs or LMMs. So when you're using ChatGPT, when you're using Gemini or Claude, you put in a prompt, which is your dollar bill. And in there, you might have instructions and examples and different things, which is sort of like making a selection. And then when
Alex, we have 20 seconds left.
Oh, yeah. So and that's really it. And then when you hit enter, it doesn't think about it. It doesn't understand it. It doesn't contemplate it. It doesn't have opinions on whether to do what you asked or not. It crunches a bunch of numbers, does mathematical operations, and then it spits out a response, and then it goes back to being idle. And that's really it. So a lot of just something to keep in mind that's these models work very much like a vending machine.
Appreciate you. Any last words or insights you would like to leave with the founders?
No, just keep learning, keeping up. It's moving quick, and try and find those areas to differentiate and enhance your value proposition and get competitive advantage.
Appreciate you. one last plug too for Why of AI. If you're watching this, definitely tap in with Alex on this. His expertise is, ahead of like the curve for everyone. So appreciate you, Alex.
Yeah, thanks so much. Great to be here. Appreciate it.
I'll see you.
All right.
Cool. So we're going to wrap up and bring our judges back to stage. Yeah, judges, you want to go ahead and announce the runner-up and the winner?
And sorry,
Yeah.
founders, can you come on stage as well, please?
Awesome. So first of all, all the judges want to thank all of you for just taking the time on a Friday to pitch us your businesses. It was an extremely basically tough decision because I think all of you guys are building some pretty unique businesses, and we've been founders ourselves, so we know exactly what it is to be in your shoes. I'm excited to announce first the runner-up. After deliberation, the runner-up for today is Arvist. So Nilay, congrats. And then virtual drum roll, for the winner. The winner of today is actually going to be Levee.
Congrats.
Thank you.
So, how do you feel? A quick little, 15-second victory?
Job's not done yet. Got to get back to work. This helps.
Hey, that's definitely how you ended. So thank you to everyone, that participated today. Also our judges and everyone out there watching. We'll be back next week with another episode of TechRise, this time focusing on media and entertainment. So have a good day. Have a great weekend.